New Year to you. It is great to be in 2021. Thank God we made it. We, however, can only move on in the new year by reflecting on events of the year outgone, corporately and personally, to help us plan and implement for new heights. On this edition of Dateline 360, we take on different sectors of the economy, assessing performances in the year 2020. My name is Omotola Omojala. Thanks for tuning in. We start with finance and economy, and correspondent Leah Katung Babatunde reports that at the start of 2020, there was a 3.6% growth projection in the Nigerian economy. That was not to be as coronavirus came along and threw the global economy into a deep recession. Nigeria was not also spared. In a review of the Nigerian economy in the year 2020, she reports that it was not all gloomy, though.
It was a year that started with high hopes that the economy will move only one way: positive growth, with all projections seeing Nigeria's GDP rise by an average of 3% by the end of 2020. Then the pandemic, which started in Wuhan, China, soon spread like wildfire, and all projections went south, including prices of crude oil, Nigeria's major source of revenue. The 2020 budget had to be reviewed twice to reflect the prevailing fundamentals, with lockdown slowing trade and adversely affecting all aspects of the economy.
For MSMEs, by reducing their taxes and also giving a lot of tax incentives to industry, is all designed to help industry to grow. The monetary authorities have provided several packets of funding that are low cost and designed to be easy to access, to help companies get working capital, renew their inventory, as well as also expand their production lines.
In the second quarter of 2020, Nigeria's GDP fell by 6.1%. This, however, got trimmed to 3.4% by the end of the third quarter, a remarkable comeback, experts note.
We all know the Nigeria background. Where are we as a country? Hopefully heading out of recession.
In other indicators, inflation rose to 14.89% year-on-year in November. Crude oil prices as of December 24 stood at $50.99 a barrel. Exchange rate 379 naira to the dollar. Excess crude account $72.411 million with a negative balance of trade. Notably, the government injected funds massively to reflate the economy, build infrastructure, provide palliatives for the vulnerable, and instituted survival funds for MSMEs affected by the pandemic. All these are part of the Economic Sustainability Plan, ESP. So far, about 500,000 have benefited. The payroll support scheme has paid about 350,000 beneficiaries. Almost 166,000 of 300,000 artisans have benefited from the Artisan and Transport Scheme, and the Corporate Affairs Commission is ramping up numbers to register 250,000 new businesses free of charge. By the end of December, an approximated 400,000 payroll support beneficiaries received salaries for October to December, while structures have been put in place to commence the general grants and the guaranteed offtake scheme. The Nigerian Stock Exchange's all-share index closed the year 2020 with a 50.03% appreciation year-on-year, hitting the 40,000 psychological line. It is a rally fueled by local investments, as foreign investors withdrew 433.15 billion naira in 11 months from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The NSE states that domestic transactions increased by 53.51% in the month of November from the numbers recorded in October.
You know, the markets are forward indicators of what will happen in the economy. So the equity markets just reflecting that. I must say that some of the policy changes I made reference to include the CBN policy that domestic institutional investors should stop participating in the OMO markets.
Nigeria's tax collections have also increased despite the effects of the pandemic, with the FRS outperforming its 2020 target and non-oil receipts rising between 60 and 70% mid-year. The Companies and Allied Matters Act (CAMA) 2020 was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on August 7, 2020. The Finance Bill 2020 was also passed. President Muhammadu Buhari had in a letter dated 25th November 2020 said the passage of the Finance Bill would support the implementation of the 2021 budget through key reforms in taxation, customs, excise, fiscal and other laws. The National Assembly on December 21 passed the 2021 appropriation bill of 13.5 trillion naira, 505 billion naira higher than the figure submitted by the executive, with the National Social Investment Program responsible for the major increment. It is the second successive time that the National Assembly is passing the budget within this time, as the country strives to remain with the January to December fiscal calendar. These experts believe will boost the confidence of investors and attract inflows of tangible and intangible investments following President Buhari's signing of the budget-tagged budget of economic recovery and resilience into law. Indications are that the economy will emerge from the recession sooner than anticipated and return to the path of accelerated growth, especially with the continental single market opening up opportunities. Leah Katung Babatunde for Dateline 360.
From a general economic outlook, we move to specifics. One of the worst hit sectors by the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 is the aviation sector. Emmanuel Anyimiro, who follow the event in the sector closely, asserts that the pride of air transportation as a facilitator of the flow of investments, goods and passengers across cities and nations was threatened in 2020. He reports that the sector slumped into its worst era with huge losses, the full extent of which the International Air Transport Association says may never be known.
The airspace is opened again for people and goods to crisscross the globe after the total halt for months due to COVID-19. At the beginning of 2020, the only concern of air travelers in Nigeria was perhaps the usual disruption of flight activities during hazy weather conditions, leading to delays, cancellations, or rescheduling. But then, COVID-19 proved to be more than weather disruptions, and for 6 months, the skies were deserted. Jobs were called by airline operators to reduce costs. Other services across the aviation chain, like hotel and tourism, car hire and bureau de change, went on compulsory break.
This is the worst hit in the aviation industry ever. We've had similar cases, but not like this. And we pray we don't have this experience ever again.
But then, aviation again became the only fastest means for transporting medical protective items to various parts of the globe, with Nigeria also getting her share through donations from foreign countries, agencies and individuals.
Our collaboration with the government, and we also have, as you know, established a basket fund, and part of that will also be commodities. So yes, we expect more support from the United Nations.
How battered was the industry, particularly when airline operators had to carry out routine checks even when the aircraft were parked without them making profits?
At one time, our revenue was down to about 3%, and if FAN had 3%, I believe almost all the other aspects of the industry, handling, airlines, and others are also experiencing similar low percentages.
While passengers are still in the euphoria of air travel, which started again after the lockdown, suddenly a spike in airfares has caused the excitement to cease.
I'm going at the rate of 109,000 for business class, simply because there is no space for economy.
Despite the difficulty in 2020, the Southeast geopolitical zone had risen to celebrate as the rehabilitation of Akano Ibiam International Airport Enugu runway was completed and reopened.
In I never believed that what we are seeing today would happen and happen with such rapidity.
We are proud to say that this project is indeed a testimony to Mr. President's commitment to the provision of infrastructure in the country.
The aviation industry is still nursing the injuries from the lockdown and also concerned about the uncertainty in 2021. One thing is, however certain, the aviation history books will not forget 2020. Emmanuel Ayemiro for Dateline 360.
And while some count their losses, the year 2020 was indeed a blessing to others. One of such is the information and communication technology sector. 2020 announced the ICT sector and its relevance to not only the Nigerian economy, but almost every sphere of life. While COVID-19 in 2020 shut down the country, the ICT sector comparatively soared as everything and everyone depended on the sector in one form or the other. ICT correspondent Joseph Johnson has the review.
Global predictions and projections had it that ICT will do well in 2020, but no one saw it as being the lifeline. COVID-19 was already wreaking havoc in Wuhan, China. It was not expected to spread like wildfire across the world, halting everything. ICT became the savior of a sort, with online being the safest means of doing many things. Nigeria was not an exception. The inaugurations of many ICT skills centers across the country and digital trainings of youth and civil servants came in handy.
We want to ensure that in the next 10 years, we don't have a traditional or manual Nigeria, but rather a digital Nigeria. Each and every Nigerian is encouraged to key into a digital Nigeria.
Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, especially this administration, has done a lot in terms of policy formulation, streamlining ICT services in the country, and the major efforts of bringing government services online.
The new normal saw the sector contributing more than 17% to the nation's GDP in the second quarter. For Angela Lucia, an ICT expert, 2020 was a defining moment for Nigeria's digital journey.
I'm happy I've been involved in the 80s, in the 90s, into the 2000s. I was part of analog, and I can compare analog and digital. My God, throw away analog. Digital is the real McCoy, and let's work towards it and make sure it happens.
From the launch and unveiling of the National Broadband Penetration Plan 2020 to 2025 by the federal government to the deactivation of about 2.2 million improperly registered SIM cards and subsequent transfer of the National Identity Management Commission (NIMC) to the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. It was all falling into places for the sector in Nigeria.
In this digital era, that you need a mobile phone, you need also a digital account, and then the broadband have to be in place. And beyond that, the identity is the foundation that determines the people that will also make the digital economy works properly.
Just when the year was ending, the ICT world defied the odds and held the only live in-person technology event of the year in Dubai, where 10 Nigerian startups shared the global stage with their counterparts across the world to showcase their innovative skills.
From the look of things, 2021 will be a digital year for Nigeria, as more and more people will have to depend on the internet for some services. And of course, for the sector, mastering the art of thriving through the storm of a global pandemic is even now inevitable, especially with COVID-19 giving birth to a twin with a touch of variance. Yes, technology is helping humans navigate the times, but will 2021 see the end of the virus? Well, even technology can't seem to answer that. I guess the new year will have to speak for itself. Happy Digital New Year, Nigeria.
Joseph Johnson for Deadline 360.
For commerce or household use, power is a necessity that provides the modern type of comfort, if you know what I mean. Aware of this, government's quest to provide adequate and reliable power supply continued to receive needed attention. Looking at some of the milestones and challenges of the power sector in the year 2020, Joshua Ojito reports that sector players are also sustaining momentum for optimal results.
Strategic to economic growth of any nation is availability of electricity supply, and federal government says it remains topmost on its priority list, with more funding injected into the sector in 2020. However, the sector had its share of the ripple effect of COVID-19 pandemic, which slowed down work on many power projects. Notwithstanding, power sector witnessed remarkable progress in the year 2020 as Nigeria recorded twice in the year peak generation of more than 5,000 megawatts of electricity, which was successfully transmitted through the national grid.
What we have to do first is to make sure that we have a robot grid that can transmit power anytime and to any place.
Similarly, number of power substations were inaugurated, like the Gagarawa substation in Jigawa State, which was abandoned for more than 20 years, even as more contractors were mobilized back to site to complete abandoned power projects. The Mambila hydroelectric power project, which remained on the drawing board for more than 40 years, is gradually becoming a reality, with a flag of sensitization to host communities and youth empowerment program that will train 20,000 youths expected to be engaged during the construction of the hydro dam.
We wish to provide action and more action as far as this project is concerned.
While efforts are being made to construct more hydro and gas power plants, attention is also given to solar-powered projects, with many inaugurated across the country, while additional 20 million Nigerians are expected to benefit from the solar-powered Niger project, which Rural Electrification Agency flagged off in the year under review.
As we progress, by the year 2021, up to the end of our tenure, we intend to achieve a lot, not less than 11,000 megawatts.
In order to make the sector attractive to investors and in line with the multi-year tariff order, service-based reflective tariff was introduced to boost power supply and ensure customers pay only for what they consume. This was followed by the National Mass Metering Program, thereby bringing to an end an era of estimated billing and revenue losses in the sector. There was also leadership change at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, as the managing director of the company, Usman Gur Mohammed, was relieved of his appointment, and Sule Ahmed Abdulaziz stepped in as the acting managing director. Projecting into the new year, sector players say the gains recorded in the year 2020 should be consolidated for Nigeria to overcome the challenge of inadequate power supply. For Deadline 360, Joshua Ojito.
Now, the coronavirus pandemic has been described by experts as an unprecedented tsunami in the world oil market, and only the concerted efforts of major industry players was able to stabilize the sector in 2020. Over now to Lydia Sampson for a look at major interventions in 2020 aimed at alleviating the effects of what she calls the no longer business as always status of the oil and gas sector in Nigeria and globally.
The future of the global oil and gas industry has been a subject of great debate for decades. Since COVID-19 surfaced, there's been even more conjecture on the issue, in particular, the most likely timing for peak oil, when crude production reaches its maximum rate before going into permanent decline. Nigeria's gas industry is on the verge of real transformation. Some of the FIDs that were close to finalization were postponed globally. However, Nigeria stood tall as the final investment for 27 LNG was signed.
We are crossing what we call the Ndoni-Abo River crossing in Rivers State that will deliver gas from the eastern part of the country into the western corridor. That means expanding gas supply into the Elf line, also making gas ready, and the AKK, it will be waiting for AKK to come up.
Government declared the year 2020 as the year of gas, and huge investment to increase Nigeria's value realization from her huge gas endowments from the Ajakuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline.
When completed, the Ajakuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline project will provide gas for generation of power and for gas-based industries, which would facilitate the development of new industries and also the revival of urban industries.
Autogas and the inauguration of the Oredo Integrated Gas Handling Facility and LPG processing and dispensing plants, key players say, highlights President Muhammadu Buhari's genuine determination to deliver on his promises even in the face of daunting challenges, particularly those posed by the coronavirus pandemic.
The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has made unprecedented strides in the area of gas infrastructure development that will facilitate exploitation and monetization of Nigeria's massive gas resources.
The global oil market through OPEC was instrumental in helping counter the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and in stabilizing the oil market through successful implementation of the Declaration of Cooperation Objectives and an unprecedented production cut.
As we look to navigate the future energy transition, it is our deeply held conviction that we need to work together step by step and challenge the misconception that the oil and gas industries are not part of our energy future.
The chain reaction of events due to COVID-19 and the drastic measures taken worldwide to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 led to an unprecedented drop in the demand for oil and a corresponding catastrophic collapse in prices. OPEC's latest World Oil Outlook, for example, forecasts increasing oil demand for 2 more decades. The good news is the federal government is resolved to deepen local content, transparency and accountability so that Nigerians can have maximum impact from the oil and gas sector going forward. For Deadline 360, Lydia Sampson.
That is Deadline 360 for this week. Wondering what happened to health, which was a major issue last year? Let's just say we are saving the best for the last. Join us next week as we bring you the 2020 assessment of health, education, transport and others. Till then, thank you for your company and Happy New Year again. Stress is a normal physical response to an event that makes your nervous system feel threatened at the perception of danger, whether real or imagined, giving your body automatic mobilization process known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. This automobilization response, or stress, is designed to protect your body. When it is working well, it helps you stay focused, energetic, and alert. In an emergency, it spurs you into action to defend yourself. Stress, however, becomes worrisome when it is overwhelming. It can damage your health, your mood, your productivity, relationship, and even your quality of life. Stress is chiefly induced by environmental conditions or stimulus and emotional instability. Work-related stress is the second most commonly reported condition in the self-reported work-related illness. According to research results between 2011 and 2012, an estimated 428,000 workers suffered from work stress. Stress affects different people in different ways, but generally, the chemicals that are released by the body as a result of stress can build up over time and cause various mental and physical symptoms. These include irritability, anger, depression, anxiety, food cravings, lack of appetite, headaches, sleep difficulty, and the list is endless. How one handles one's stress depends on the causes and the symptoms, but it is imperative to note that once the pressure or threat has passed, your stress hormone level will usually return to normal.
Of great people, different tribes and languages, yet we are united in our diversity. All over the world, Nigerians are known to be very hardworking and resilient people. In our history as a nation, there have been many storms, but just like the eagle, we always soar very high above the storms. Together, as a nation, we stood against Ebola virus disease in 2014, and we conquered. Together as a nation, we shall stand against COVID-19, and we shall surely triumph. Let's do our part as citizens, obey the health authorities, stay at home, practice social distancing and proper hygiene. When this is over, and very soon it will be, we shall dance again at the Calabar Carnival, the Eyo Festival, Celebration, Ojude-Oba Festival, and Argungu Festival. When this is over, and very soon it will, we shall flock the beaches again. We shall attend our music concerts again. We shall invite the world once again at the Lagos City Marathon. When this is over, and very soon it will be, we can return to our hustle and bustle. We will gather at our churches and mosques. We shall return to our schools and institutions. Our hope is alive. We are Nigeria, and together we shall rise again. Nigeria Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
NTA News. When the news breaks, we mend it.
While
World Bank projects Nigeria's growth to rebound by 1.1% in 2021, while global economy expands by 4%. Nigeria to receive 100,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine before the end of month. President Buhari seeks more Chinese support for infrastructure. And Business Express focuses on global economic prospects released by the World Bank. All these and more on the program reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. So good to always have you tuned to Business Express. Contrary to reports in some section of the media on the approval for 50% increase in electricity tariff, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) says no approval has been granted to electricity distribution companies for such increase in the tariff order, which took effect from 1st January 2021. However, in compliance with the provisions of the Electric Power Sector Reform Act and the nation's tariff methodology for biannual minor review, the rates for service bands A, B, C, D, and E have been adjusted from 2 naira to 4 naira per kilowatt to reflect the partial impact of inflation and movement in foreign exchange rates. The Commission restates that the tariff for customers who are being served less than the average of 12 hours per day over a period of 1 month remain frozen and subsidized in line with the policy direction of the federal government. The World Bank says global economy is expected to expand by 4% in 2021 if vaccine deployment becomes widespread throughout the year and policymakers move decisively to tame the pandemic and implement investment-enhancing reforms. This was contained in the Global Bank's January 2021 Global Economic Prospects released on Tuesday. Although the global economy is growing again after a 4.3% contraction in 2020, the pandemic has caused a heavy toll of deaths and illness, plunged millions into poverty, and may depress economic activity and incomes for a prolonged period. To support economic recovery, the World Bank says authorities also need to facilitate a reinvestment cycle aimed at sustainable growth that is less dependent on government debt. Nigeria's economy is expected to grow at 1.1% in 2021 from the estimated 4.1% contraction in 2020 and would further grow to 1.8% in 2022. World Bank Group President David Malpass is of the view that to overcome the impact of the pandemic and counter the investment headwind, there needs to be a major push to improve business environments, increase labor and product market flexibility, and strengthen transparency and governance. Meanwhile, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says Nigeria will receive 100,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine before end of January 2021. This was made known Tuesday during the PTF briefing.
We expect to receive approximately 100,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine by the end of January.
PTF is appealing to health professionals, the media and opinion shapers in the country to educate Nigerians on the safety of vaccines and the need to disregard conspiracy theories. Meanwhile, the Nigeria-China Intergovernmental Committee has been formalized to address issues hampering mutual cooperations for development among the two nations. Usman Aliu has details.
The Asian superpower and the Africa's economic giant
meet to formalize new deals for much more mutual benefits on cooperation. The Chinese, now a major force in building the economy of Africa, is again changing history in the continent on trade, technology and loans to fund infrastructure, and it says it will ensure equality in the renewed relations. That means these bilateral talks is to address many of these challenges of development which Nigeria is facing in her efforts to diversify the economy. But at present, export of agricultural produce from Nigeria to China is very difficult because of high tariff. For instance, peanut and sesame attract between 70 to 50% tariff, the burden which is unbearable for farmers to gain value for the produce. These are some of the issues which the Nigeria-China Intergovernmental Committee is expected to look into.
We analyze global affairs as well, the support of each other, reciprocal support in multilateral organizations, and our joint efforts to ensure a stable, fair global system.
Dealing with COVID-19 is also of interest here.
With the vaccine discoveries now, China is also one of those countries that has been able to develop vaccines for COVID, and so we're also engaging with China to also help with regards to access to vaccines.
The aviation industry is backing on the proposed COVID-19 vaccine to stimulate recovery faster than earlier envisaged, but experts are suggesting that in order to turn threat into opportunities in 2021, domestic airline operators must harness cargo services to augment loss while exploring the possibility of night operations at the nation's airports. Michael Olaleye reports.
With an estimated 7.3 million passengers passing through the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in 2019, the foundation for growth in the coming years was already built. But tragedy struck in form of COVID-19 and necessitated the grounding of flight operations. Millions of jobs lost, but the ray of hope is that man has found a way to fly again. In the midst of this, the survival of the industry has become a topical issue, and experts are optimistic that 2021 is the year that the aviation industry will rediscover its glorious days.
Go public. Let the airlines go public. If you can go public and get a little bit of technical assistance, as most of these countries we are even trying to hail, like Emirates.
They say establishing new markets for airline carriers must be backed up with rebates and waivers.
One is to open a special window for the airlines to access the foreign exchange, which should be much lower than the prevailing black market rate. Also, I think it is time for the agencies and other service providers, especially those owned by government, to begin to work out waivers, subsidies, and reduction in charges.
The light at the end of the tunnel is that we have a vaccine, and with that vaccine, we hope the recovery will be expedited, meaning that the growth, or rather the going back to the passenger level pre-COVID will come sooner than later.
Stakeholders are optimistic that the future is bright, and the aviation industry remains the only vehicle for stimulating the anticipated growth in the midst of COVID-19.
The aviation industry has been virtually grounded by COVID-19, and recovery has been muted in most markets due to travel restrictions, deep recession, weak consumer confidence, and the second wave of lockdowns are hampering the recovery process. Joining me to discuss the latest World Bank projections on global growth as well as prospects in the aviation sector is an aviation consultant and economist, Tayo Ojuri, managing partner Agro Aviation. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Ojuri, on Business Express today.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. The World Bank projects Nigeria's growth to rebound by 1.1% in 2021, while global economy is to expand by 4%. These projections are predicated on widespread vaccination. Tell us the impact of these vaccines on global economy.
Thank you very much. The vaccine would actually help, but it's there's still lots of things that are not confirmed yet. Because of the second wave and because of the high negative impact of the second wave, we're still not sure, unfortunately. The World Bank projection was well before we started having the intensity of the second wave. With the second wave now, what we've seen in the last 2 weeks is everything is up in the air. Up in the air in terms of projections, up in the air in terms of airline operations, because now you have lots of countries, rather than having a layered single approach system to curtail the second wave, lots of countries are implementing protocols to curtail the spread. For example, you have the shutdown in Europe. Specifically in the UK, you had 2 weeks ago, last week precisely, where 40 countries actually closed their borders and flights to UK due to that new strain. You have the Tier 3 in South Africa. So with all those different approaches and protocols that's affecting flights, international flights, that's going to restrict and actually hamper lots of flights within the first and second quarter. Even though World Bank has said, yes, we're going to grow at 1.1%, if we bring that home to Nigeria, with the recession that we're technically in recession, and we're looking at exiting recession in the second quarter, coupled with the micro economic indicators, we do not think that the passenger traffic would actually move or have significant traction till last quarter of 2021.
According to that report, recovery in Nigeria is expected in this quarter. Are we in the right path to achieving that?
Unfortunately, no. Why so? Aviation is a function of disposable income. Disposable income, government is the biggest spender in Nigeria. Government has restricted lots of travel. There's no conferences. Even the level of people and civil servants and public servants that need to go to work have been restricted till the end of first quarter. So that all affects the propensity to fly. With all these restrictions, and the implication of lots of people getting very comfortable with technology as a means of communication and doing business, that's actually going to affect travel, and it's not going to let the passenger numbers move up. As with the passenger numbers not moving up, that's going to affect the growth within the aviation sector for first quarter.
Right, Mr. Ojiri, in just one sentence, tell me, if you were to give one solution to global economic growth, what would that solution be? In one sentence.
In one sentence is to make people more aware and be safety conscious. When we're able to actually curtail COVID, we're able to return to normal.
All right. Airlines have been cutting costs substantially, but cash burn continues with net losses running into billions. Can you quantify the level of losses so far globally and also Nigeria's share? And then, based on the World Bank projection, what will these figures mean to global economy? That's talking about aviation figures. What will they mean for global economy?
I'm going to marry the World Bank numbers with the IATA and ICAO numbers, whereby last year aviation globally lost $118 billion. With the cash burn as at today, there's an expected $2 million net loss in 2021. To bring that home to Nigeria, we're looking at, for every passenger that we carry today, there's a $72 loss for that operation. So we are burning cash at a very high level. What does that affect? How does that now affect the domestic airlines? There's a risk of debt, bankruptcy, and the challenge of survival, even post-COVID. So what is the solution to this? The solution to this, as we've seen globally, and bringing that home, is having what you call the palliative, or a structured financial palliative or assistance to these airlines, either through government, through structured loans, or through guaranteed loans, guaranteed sovereign loans, which has been done with British Airways, getting about £2 billion in the last week, as well as Air France KLM being restructured for post-COVID flight operations. This is going to help the airlines survive post-COVID, because as we know it today, things are going to change post-COVID, and with the second wave, things are still up in the air.
Okay, in the year that just ended, 2020, we saw air cargo supporting global supply chains. That's to show that there's hope of recovery as much as the one we had in 2019. But same cannot be said for air travels. What is the reason for the difference?
Specifically, we actually had an 8% air cargo. Air cargo was the only one that was on scratch. So it was good news. I was not all gloomy news for us in aviation. Air cargo was 8% increase. And what was the driver for that? The drivers were based and predicated based on the need. During the lockdown, we still needed to move goods, emergency supplies, food, lots of COVID-19 relief materials. So all these things needed to be moved across borders, across nations. So that was actually a force for good, which aviation was used for, and it actually helped cargo actually move. Now people are getting comfortable with that means of transportation, and logistics business is actually grown with COVID-19. So it's something that airlines are trying to leverage on, especially within Nigeria, as well as globally. You had a lot of airlines convert their passenger aircraft into freighter aircraft. And we've seen a lot of configuration of passenger aircraft being configured into cargo aircraft. So we're seeing a future growth in cargo movement due to the need and due to new norm for post-COVID.
All right. Nigeria is expecting 100,000 doses of the vaccines, talking about Pfizer vaccines, before the end of January. How significant do you think this is going to be on air travels?
This is going to be very significant. But let's look at the rudiments, which is the fundamental of we have a challenge of relative warehouse storage facilities, because the vaccines have to be within temperate conditions. So with that being said, is to ensure that the infrastructure is available to be able to store, and the logistics to transport those COVID-19 vaccines across Nigeria. Once that is available, we're able to ensure that the vaccine is actually being distributed and effectively for the use of people, so that it actually still has its efficiency when it gets to when it's been applied and when it's being given to people. So once that is done, that's able to curtail that vaccine, the spread of COVID-19, and that's actually going to increase the propensity of people to travel and give them a lot of comfort, because people are a bit scared about traveling for the fear of catching COVID on either through the airport or through the aircraft. So with the vaccine, people are going to travel more, in my opinion.
Okay, the AFCFTA has just kicked off. What happens to trade? Excuse me. So so much, Mr. Tayo Ojuri, and we apologize that we had to end the program on that note. And so with this, we end this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizX. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I am Muplang Dakok.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Disaster occurs on frequent basis. Some we hear of, others we do not. Terrorism, flood, fire, earthquake, car or plane crashes, building collapse, and even armed robbery, each bringing assets and revenue loss, human mortality, and in 90% of survivors, great loss of hope. Flooding is the most common of all environment hazards, and it regularly claims over 20,000 lives per year and adversely affects about 75 million people worldwide. Nigeria has had its fair share.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time.
Emergencies, as the name implies, are not set out to happen, but they can be planned or budgeted for. Disaster management may not avert emergency threats, but it will decrease the impact of disaster where well handled. It then brings to the fore the key phases to management of disaster: mitigation, response, recovery, preparedness, and prevention. Every citizen must be well acquainted with all of them. Wishing disaster away does not avert it. Rather, as put in the local parlance, a man of valor is only identified at a time of emergency. Let us always be prepared.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ianbe John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to
another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U-Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
This is the network service of the NTA.
They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better. Let's make Nigeria great again. ICPC, they want to act for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
The public service is the operational arm of government that provides the services of government to the people. It is the face of government that citizens engage with, and they are responsible for ensuring that government policies are implemented. Unfortunately, in recent times, the public service has been accused of irregularities and corruption, which hampers the provision of quality service to the people. Corruption in the public service takes various forms and goes beyond financial misconduct to inefficiency, lack of transparency, accountability, etc. In the past, there were government policies that helped keep public servants prudent and accountable against the gradual escalation of corruption in the service today. What are these policies? What then are the possible ways to curb the menace? Welcome to Corruption Must Go, a production of the Public Enlightenment Department of ICPC. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiai.
Hello viewers, welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. In its determination to find lasting solution to the mirage of hardship experienced by importers and exporters at the Lagos seaports, the Executive Secretary and CEO of Nigeria Shippers Council, Barrister Hassan Bello, has sought intervention from ICPC. Bello made his intentions known recently at ICPC headquarters in Abuja, while on a courtesy call to the chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye San.
The port situation, however, is not a very friendly situation. As a matter of fact, it is getting worse. It is attributable to so many things, chief of which is the failure of the infrastructure. The roads leading to the ports are just not good enough, and the whole place is at present clogged, so to say. Exports cannot go out, neither will imports come, and if they do, they trickle, because the aperture, that is the road, is just not possible. So this has created opportunity for corrupt practices to fast around the port. We have, for example, and this has been carried by many newspapers, credible tales where to now transport a 20-foot container from the port to anywhere else, from Ikeja to the Apapa Main, will cost about 1,200,000 naira. This is because the intimidation, harassment, and extortion by every real and imagined forces, it has made the port unseen.
Professor Owasonye, in his response, assured the visiting team that he was quite familiar with the intractable situation at the Apapa port. He, however, noted that the situation would require concerted efforts from all the critical agencies with the ability of ensuring sanity in the port sector.
But I don't think it is a problem that the two of us as agencies can solve, but we are able to play our own role. And I think as an expert in the field and with your knowledge of what the challenges that you already mentioned some of the areas, obviously I do not think we can survive this situation by just focusing on good transportation to evacuate goods from the ports. It's simply not just practical. Especially with Lagos receiving, I don't know what percentage of the goods it is, almost 80% or something like that. Lagos that you can hardly expand routes, there's nowhere to expand routes to. So clearly, having inland waterways coming and having the rail coming are very important. I'm aware that the Inland Waterways Authority have dredged, whether it's the Benue River or something, in order to start moving goods like barges, like you said. But it's one thing to make a statement of intention, it's another thing for it to be well grounded, to make an impact and reduce the tension that we are facing. And of course the rail, which is also critical. It has to be a combination of efforts that will get us out of this.
It would be recalled that ICPC had conducted a corruption risk assessment of the port sector some years back, and the outcome of the study led to the design and operationalization of the Port Service Support Portal and the recently launched process manual for the ports. Acting on a petition instituted against some officials of the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt for alleged corrupt practices, ICPC has obtained an interim forfeiture order on the sum of $919,202, which is approximately 450 million naira, fraudulently hidden in a bank account. Investigators in the Rivers State Office of the Commission traced the money that had been hidden in an interest-yielding account by officials of the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt since 2014. On discovery of the hidden money, the ICPC, through its lawyer, Dr. Agada Akogo, filed an ex parte motion for an interim order of forfeiture of the money. In his ruling, Justice Mohammed Sani of the Federal High Court, Port Harcourt, granted the Commission's prayer for interim forfeiture of the said sum, pending the final hearing on the matter. The judge further ruled that the orders of the court directing the interim forfeiture shall be published in any daily newspaper within 14 working days for any person interested in the said property sought to be forfeited to appear before the court to show cause why the final forfeiture orders be not made in favor of the federal government of Nigeria. The matter was then adjourned for reports and final forfeiture hearing. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues. Stay with us.
As we observe safety measures, and support our health and frontline workers in fighting COVID-19, corruption, abuse of power, diversion, and misuse of public funds approved for mitigating the impact of coronavirus must be exposed. Be a coronavirus whistleblower. Report abuse in the management of COVID-19 fund and palliative to ICPC on toll-free number 0800-2255-4272 or AfricMail on 0811-877-1666. Email tips@corruptionanonymous.org. This message is from the African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMail, in partnership with ICPC.
The public service in Nigeria, like other occupation, has work ethics with spelled out rules and regulations, as well as rewards and remuneration. There are also penalties for misconduct clearly stated in the public service rules and in pre- and post-independence Nigeria. These rules were strictly enforced. Today, the rules have not changed to any great extent. However, it seems it is the enforcement and compliance of the rules that have suffered neglect over time, and the lack of ethics as well as a poor reward system have become corruption enablers. How did we go so wrong? What are the best ways to solve the problem of corruption in the public service? Let's find out.
Two things that we can look at with respect to corruption. One is the remuneration, the wages that people are paid as workers, whether low workers, middle-level workers, high-level workers. You talk about fair remuneration. To some reasonable extent, we can say that public servants enjoy fair remuneration. There was social security, there was pension. So all of those make life meaningful for the average worker. The second one has to do with consequences of corruption. Do people get punished? Do people get away with impunity? The rules of the public service were very clear. People were held accountable on the basis of those rules. So adherence to rules were very, very strict. The typical public servant is a man, is a woman of rules. Somewhere along the line, we lost respect for rules, we violate rules with impunity, no due processes. I think that's where the danger came, and we can trace it. The military did incalculable damage to our nation
both in terms of aberration of rules, a culture of impunity, and that crept into the public service. We saw the way the whole concept of pension was killed through corruption. Nobody was ever held accountable. And so for the average public servant, life became extremely very miserable. And people started to all kind of self-help. And I guess that's what we lost. The way out remains that we need to reward hard work. The way out remains that we need to reward excellence. The way out is also to punish people who err, whether for corruption, violation of rules, because corruption is not just in terms of stealing monies. Corruption is in terms of violating all processes that leads to development, that leads to meaningful life for our people. So we need to go back to adherence of rules. We need to go back to punishing people who violate the rules. We need to go back to rewarding excellence.
I think we actually ran into a storm, and that storm was a storm of ethical crisis, and also related to that is the issue of values crisis. I would want to relate that to the issue of closely tied to what the labour circles know as the labour problem and the social question. That is the origin of this crisis. We've not been able to adequately answer the labour problem or the labour quagmire, as it were, and the social question. Now, how do you expect a civil servant who works very hard, gives his best to the society, to the development of the society, and at the end of the day, he earns very little? Take for instance, in 1981, Nigeria enacted the first national minimum wage law, and in that year, minimum wage was pegged at 125 naira. That's the equivalent of $125 US dollars. Just recently, like 2 years ago, in 2018, Nigeria also amended that same national minimum wage law, and it was amended to 30,000 naira for every public servant, every civil servant in Nigeria. Now, when you relate that to what was done in 1981, the value of the US dollars, you find out that the Nigerian worker, the average worker, has been inching backwards, because the equivalent of the 30,000 naira minimum wage today is about $60 US. So the Nigerian worker has been robbed over time.
Faced with this problem, ICPC is leaving no stone unturned to find solution. For example, the Commission by its Establishment Act, Section 6B to D, is mandated to review on a periodic basis the systems, procedures, and operations of public and private sector institutions in order to determine institutional vulnerabilities that can engender corruption. In line with this mandate, it developed an ethics and compliance scorecard to address this gap. The Commission also developed the Ethics and Integrity Policy document to check the decline in moral values. How are the lack of ethics and a poor reward system enabling corruption? Imam Fuad Adeyemi is the Executive Director, Just Foundation.
Definitely, it is the reason. Lack of reward system and lack of ethics. It's a bad lack of reward. If you notice, the corruption became much more pronounced in Nigeria after this General Murtala Muhammad sacked some civil servants, and without anything to have after they were sacked. They were not given anything. Many of them died wretched. Many of them left this country. I don't want to mention names of the children who are now turned to something else. Many of them, they don't even come back to Nigeria because of that. But if you are sure that when you walk, you have a little place where you put your head, the government will take care of your children. I met a friend who is working in one of the oil companies. He said, Imam, if anybody steal 1 naira in our company, they should kill him. I said, why did you say so? He said, they will give you a car. After 3-4 years, that car becomes your own. They will support you to build a house. They will pay your children's school fees. If your in-law comes to where you are, they will support you to take care of your in-law. If you want to go and do something outside and you report to them, they will support you to do it. Then if you steal, what are you going to do with it? And what we don't know is that this thing, at the end of the day, when we support, we reward people, it might be cheaper compared to what people are stealing. So people will be dedicated, people will be much used to what they are doing, and they will be much more productive. Their mind will be much more on what they are doing than for somebody, as if somebody is doing something. The only thing he's thinking is how much he's going to get from the work that he's doing. If he's not getting anything, then be rest assured that it will destabilize that thing. And that is why most government policy are not working. If you see almost all the government policy now, if it is working, they are making some people are having something they are eating there. The moment they are no more eating, they will destroy that policy. And that is what government has not been looking at. So anything that you have to provide for the people who are doing this work. You provide for their well-being. And that's where you even see most government organizations now, they discover that the training, the welfare of the staff is in the hand of the chief executive. And before you know it, they use it for themselves and their family. And at the end of the day, everybody is thinking of what to steal and what to go and do to get some other thing. But if you are sure that the little you are doing, you'll be able to get little thing that will keep you moving, you won't think of that. An average Nigerian is not a thief. An average Nigerian is a very hard-working person. And an average Nigerian just want to live a very peaceful and silent life. It is because of corruption. That is why everybody is now turning to thief, to armed robber, to beggar, to anything. And if you look at it very well, it is lack of this thing that is the basis of all our problems we have in this country.
I am a Nigerian, a highly cultured race. My culture abhors corruption, and with my integrity, a new Nigeria is possible. I say no to corruption today to build a future for my children. Join me and imbibe the culture of integrity to build a Nigeria of our dreams.
This is Simo's production. What are the factors that helped to keep corruption low in the public service in the past? We spoke to some Nigerians.
Because things were done based on merit and credibility. And that was why if somebody did the right thing, he will be rewarded. And if you're found wanting, he will be disciplined. But these days, the reverse is the case. Where you find out things are not done rightly, it's either based on godfatherism, because if you have somebody in a position, even if when you have done the right thing, maybe you are involved in corruption, they will try to make sure that the case will not be heard, which is wrong, and that is why we have increased rate of corruption in the civil service. I worked in the civil service and I know what I'm saying. Where you work sincerely, people will not even reward you. Rather, we reward those who are thieves in the civil service. You started working with somebody because you have your ideology and your principles. You don't want to do anything contrary to what the rules and regulation of the civil service says. And you are an upright person. They will start giving you some kind of names and what have you. But when you have somebody who is a corrupt person and he has all it takes, people never ask how and where did he acquire all this wealth. Rather, praises will be showered on him. So that is why everybody is striving very hard, no matter whether it is good or it is contrary to the civil service rule, they want to make money. And that is why corruption is very high in the civil service.
Corruption is a pandemic actually ravaging our community nowadays. But in the first, people are very much selfless, and secondly, people follow rules and regulations. When there are people following rules and regulations, definitely things will go well.
These are some of the factors, and they are satisfied with what they are getting as their remuneration. They were well remunerated. They were given, for instance, if you are a graduate or even a college leaver, you have some things that government will be giving you as to help you, like a car loan, like a housing loan, like a furniture allowances and what have you. So these actually help the people to control themselves, to control their ego, to be selfless to the nation and serve the nation diligently.
Sanctions and punishments are the ultimate way to fight corruption. Such people have scant regard for the fact that rewarding exemplary and conspicuous acts of integrity by honest individuals can change other people's behavior for the better. ICPC recognizes this and has therefore introduced reward for acts of integrity as one of its strategies against the cankerworm of corruption. From the foregoing, it is obvious and indisputable that efforts are on to return the public service to the good values of the past. ICPC needs all the support it can get to uproot and eliminate corruption in all its facets in order to enhance the quality and image of the service. That's all on this week's edition of the program. Keep a date with us same time next week. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai.
What does it take to get ahead in today's world? To get your dream job? The perfect girl? Even a table at your favorite dance club? It takes moving fast. It takes moving at the speed of 4G. With Intel 4G LTE, you've got it all covered. That's because you have access to super fast unlimited data that enables you move as fast as the speed of light. Now, no download is too heavy. No conversation too long. Nothing is impossible. Get Intel 4G LTE Advanced today and do so much more. Intel. Live more.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window to the world.
you can follow. Promises to share what is up that
Archbishop of basketball, goal! He hung on that net like a stalk up a tree. NTA Sports 24 brings you all sports, all time and all day. Tune in to watch NTA Sports 24 on Star Times Channel 270, Star Sat on Channel 434 and Free TV on Channel 731. NTA Sports 24, where sports thrive.
Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi with the news. A nation that is on the path of building a recovery and resilient economy despite daunting challenges that overwhelmed previous fiscal years is willing to face 2021's national demands on a budget summary of 15.5 trillion naira. This is also in addition to the ratification of its membership in the African Continental Free Trade Area agreements to stimulate a rational economic regime and facilitate rapid development. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that guests on NTA Current Affairs program Tuesday Live are optimistic that the two major instruments will serve as future stabilizers of Nigeria's economy.
Nigeria, a nation of more than 200 million people and still counting, was plunged into a twin economic downturn in the last 5 years, with impact of oil glut, COVID-19 lockdown and other internal unrest that took a wrong trajectory. Now the 2021 budget size of 15.5 trillion naira, tagged Budget of Recovery and Resilience under the new normal, is aimed at addressing gaps created by these unpredicted factors, consolidate on capital and recurrent expenditures, and sustain social investment programs.
Aside from obviously the massive works that will continue on our roads, our bridges, our airports and seaports, obviously within the aviation budget, we also have captured there about 14 billion naira that will be going to finally flag off the construction and make quite a bit of progress this year.
A budget is typically a plan that you have cashed in figures. What it simply means is that we are able to match revenue against plans, okay, for us to be able to implement as much as we have.
There is effort in terms of the Ministry of Finance to see how to integrate the subnational into the budget process, and that's why they came with the National Development Agenda.
On the African Common Market agenda of the continent, guests on NTA Tuesday Live lauded the bold step taken by federal government to ratify the nation membership and express confidence of Nigeria occupying vantage position in the new economic dispensation.
54 countries have signed, and then 34 countries have deposited the instrument of ratification at the African Union. It means that we are ready.
We have the National Action Committee on the AFCTA. Throughout November up to December, there were a lot of sensitization workshops, and we were looking at various sectors of the AFCTA.
No matter how you have the market, the people, if they cannot afford the product, then the main essence of the convergence is defeated.
Experts say the future of Africa is bright, with potential windows to expand opportunities within the corridors of more than 1 billion population and a viable capital index of more than $3 trillion, substantially to improve on growth and development profile of the continent. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Few days into the year 2021, civil servants in Akwa Ibom State are calling on government at all levels to put in place more developmental policies that will enhance the Nigerian economy and not relent in the fight against COVID-19, which will guarantee the safety of workers in the light of the second wave of the disease for higher productivity. Evelyn Badu Ekpo takes a look at the prospects of civil servants in the year 2021.
The year 2020 came with a lot of expectations to most civil servants, but almost truncated by the COVID-19 outbreak, which forced many, including governments, to lock down following a restriction order to curb the spread of the disease before the gradual opening of the economy. These, some civil servants say, took a toll on them both financially and economically as they had to cope with the current realities. Few days into the year 2021, civil servants are hopeful things will get better. Most government offices visited had few workers in relation to the NCDC regulation of resumption of senior workers. The civil servants assured of diligence to help implement government policies.
We are planning to explore avenues within which we can carry on our functions within the limited resources.
Whatsoever is my responsibility, I will put in my best to accomplish it. All of us must take personal protective measures in order to stay safe.
The civil servants prayed for a viable economy while contributing their quota to national development. In Uyo, Evelyn Bedu Ekpo, NTA News.
Following the official flag-off of the federal government's Special Public Works program to empower 774,000 Nigerians across the country, Minister of State, Labor and Employment Festus Keyamo has taken time to clear some of the gray areas surrounding the program. Festus Keyamo was on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria along with other guests. Oluseyi Adiagbo has details.
We have allowed every local government to determine what they want to use the 1,000 persons for. In an urban area like Lagos, very urban area, you're not going to be clearing bushes. They may do traffic control in Lagos.
Minister of State, Labor and Employment Festus Keyamo explaining the scope of the Special Public Works Program and clarifying some misconceptions concerning the scheme. He also speaks on the fairness of selection of the beneficiaries and the synergy between governments at the national, state and local government levels in execution of the program.
Even though the federal government is the one hiring the persons, but the president directed us that we should collaborate with different levels of government. So even state governments that have public infrastructure to maintain, the people are available to them to be used.
All the guests on the program welcomed the development, describing it as the best global practice already tried and tested by some countries towards reducing rural poverty.
If we are able to do this every year, for instance, we can be sure that we will not just be expanding the economy, we'll be increasing our GDP.
Aside from Special Public Works Program and Economic Sustainability Plan, you also have what we just launched last week, the National Social Housing Program, where we're going to build 300,000 homes, creating 1.8 million direct jobs for young Nigerians.
After several months of delay, the extended Special Public Works Program is engaging 1,000 unemployed vulnerable persons in each of the 774 local councils in the Federation as part of the federal government's Economic Sustainability Plan in response to COVID-19 and poverty eradication. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
5 newly elected non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council have pledged to uphold the tenets of the Council. Representatives of the countries made this known in a flag-raising ceremony to mark the start of their 2-year terms at the UN headquarters. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
The United Nations Security Council has 15 members, 5 of them permanent, while the other 10 are non-permanent members and are usually elected for 2-year terms by the General Assembly on a regional basis. Under the UN Charter, all member states are obligated to comply with the Council's decisions.
National flag of
the 5 members represent Mexico, India, Ireland, Norway, and Kenya, which defeated Djibouti in the contest for the seat available for the African group.
We will listen. We will speak up boldly for Africa, for small island developing states, for the global south, and for all countries, great and small.
Protection of civilians and climate and security will be our guiding priorities.
We will not shy away from raising our voice against the common enemies of humanity like terrorism.
A new voting arrangement was adopted, taking into cognizance restrictions in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Across the world today, we know that there are millions of people living in fragile contexts that risk being pushed over the edge.
We will uphold multilateralism with the firm conviction that it is the cornerstone of the global order.
The Council's non-permanent members' terms will end on 31st December 2022. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Following the retirement of Justice Ishaq Bello as Chief Judge, High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Justice Salisu Garba as the Acting Chief Judge of the FCT High Court. A statement by the Director of Information of the National Judicial Council, Soji Oye, indicates that the Acting Chief Judge has been sworn in today by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad. Details in our subsequent bulletins. Justice Ahmed Mohamed of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered counsel to the All Progressives Congress and that of Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki to file their final written addresses to enable the court deliver its judgment within the stipulated time. He stated this after the defense team closed their case. Correspondent Olabode Arewa was there.
The pre-election matter was filed by the All Progressives Congress and one of its members in Edo State, William Sedobo. They are seeking the disqualification of Governor Godwin Obaseki from participating in the 2020 Edo governorship race, alleging that he submitted false certificates to INEC while filling his Form EC9. At the resumed trial Wednesday, Obaseki's counsel, Kem Mozia, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, called another witness, Professor Ehosa Osagi, who tendered his own bachelor degree certificate from the University of Ibadan, and told the court that from his own experience, he observed that since the UI certificates are larger in size than the A4 paper commonly used in making photocopies, making copies of such certificates might leave out some of the information on such certificates. He also testified that he attended the University of Ibadan for 3 years, just like the first defendants. With the PDP and Governor Obaseki closing their cases this Wednesday and INEC not calling any witness in support of his case, the judge ordered parties to exchange their written addresses so that they could adopt him on Thursday.
We came in prepared to do battle. We have done it, and we expect that we should win. That's the confidence we have.
So the idea was to give the court enough room and give us enough time, at least a little bit of time, to prepare our respective addresses.
Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Time now to join the Center of Excellence for more on Nationwide. Dotun will guide us. Dotun, over to you.
Thank you, Lydia, and many thanks for joining us in Lagos.
Nigeria's trade policy on inter-regions has contributed immensely to the development of economies of partnering countries. The involvement of the largest economy in Africa in the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, economic experts say, will further expand Nigeria's market and promote trade facilitation within the continent. Abolade Salami reports.
The African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, is an instrument designed to promote an all-inclusive and sustainable development across the continent, with a view to boost intra-African trade. A continent with an economic value of $3 trillion and a market of 1.2 billion people. No doubt, Africa's largest economy and the most populated in the continent, having the right policies in place, stand a more better chance than any other multinationals in trade facilitation.
Revenue that will be coming from local economy, talk about Federal Inland Revenue Service and all other state revenue, is expected to increase significantly. More importantly, we're going to be seeing an expanded manufacturing sector.
Taking advantage of the large market size and huge scale of operations in the macroeconomic segment of the market to drive an increased production capacity in the agro-allied and other mineral resources sector, economic analysts submit will serve as a catalyst for revenue growth.
In the ICT, e-commerce, we also have very good advantage. So in the service sector generally, including trading, when it comes to retail trade, I don't think there's any country in Africa that can stand the entrepreneurial capacity of Nigerians when it comes to trading.
Accelerating Africa's industrial development objectives and Africa's industrial development action plans is very important for the purpose of reconfiguring our supply chains.
While Nigeria is increasing its capacity in the export of goods and services, both foreign and domestic, the intra-African trade agreement, experts say, should be seen as a mechanism that presents several opportunities to stimulate economic growth.
As the nation remembers the sacrifices made by gallant officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reiterated the commitment of his administration to bring succor and relief to members of the Nigerian Legion in the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this at the launch of the Nigerian Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem and appeal fund in Lagos. Musa Toliat reports.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration is an event members of the Nigerian Legion look forward to. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu lauded the selfless service of the armed forces to protect the territorial integrity of the country. He, however, promised to support dependents of ex-servicemen who pay the ultimate price to keep the nation safe.
As a government, we will continue to modestly support and identify with your cause. We will continue to ensure that we can bring about succor, we can bring relief to the very gallant officers and men that have served this country at one point in time or the other.
Chairman and Deputy Commandant General of the Nigerian Legion Lagos State Council, Fola Akonde, appealed to Governor Sanwo-Olu to look into other areas of empowerment for the widows of ex-servicemen, orphans, and disabled soldiers.
This empowerment is usually made possible by the good donation of the governor. We also appeal to our amiable governor to look into other parts of the Nigerian Legion in Lagos State, most of which we have written to your office.
The launch of the emblem and appeal fund is one of the main events of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration, which ends on January 15 every year. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Let's now take our first break. Nationwide, we'll be back with Verem Iche in Makurdi.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the game changer, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Broadcasting in a digital economy, Maxwell Logo gives an insight. This edition also features Nancy Naji of AIT, a name synonymous with business. Meet the NCDC boss, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also x-rays the relevance of social media in the modern society. Meet some TV professionals who have impacted their spaces and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
The new year begins. We here at NTA cannot help but look back on a challenging year that has been filled with many lessons. The most important of all being a renewed gratitude for the continued support of our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses and manufacturers, and you, the viewers. As we cross the finish line together, this celebration of new beginnings would simply be incomplete without you there. And we look forward to sharing the coming year with you. Here's to an excellent year ahead.
Good evening and welcome to Makurdi for the continuation of Nationwide. As part of efforts towards curbing crime in the state, no fewer than 200 persons have been arrested for various crimes by the Benue State Police Command in the outgone year. Briefing newsmen in Makurdi, the Benue State Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Garba Mukadas, says the fight against crime is a continuous one which must be supported by all as the force is determined to bring crime to zero level. Sandra Dowesiakeme has the details.
In times past, Benue State has had its own share of security challenges ranging from cultism, armed robbery, internet fraud, communal crises, and of recent kidnapping. However, the year 2020 seems to be a different ballgame as the Benue State Police Command has taken the war against criminality to their doorstep and has brought relatively peace to the state. While parading 83 criminal suspects for various crimes before newsmen in Makurdi, the State Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Garba Mukadas, said the command recovered 13 guns, 5 live ammunitions, 20 cutlasses and knives, 5 cartridges, and the release of over 10 kidnapped victims within the year under review.
In the year 2020, we have prosecuted not less than 200 cultists. We have been identifying the cultists, arresting them and prosecuting them, and the law has been working on them.
Mr. Mukadas commended the commitment of the Benue State government in complementing their efforts towards fighting crime.
I appreciate the good people of this state for their conduct and cooperation with the police during the festivity and assure you that the command is committed to the fight against crime.
The Commissioner assured that the command is determined to rid the states of criminal elements. The Benue State Police Command therefore appealed to the general public to avail the police with useful information on criminal hideouts that will lead to the arrest of criminals in the states. In Makudi, Sandra Dorisi Akeme, NTA News.
Residents of Makudi, the Benue state capital, have applauded the next level agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, which has led to massive infrastructural development being undertaken across the state. Correspondent Hussaini Isa Mohammed has an overview of some viable projects executed by the present administration in the state. The report.
The year 2020 witnessed some challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but in Benue State, it is not entirely all about the pandemic and the biting recession, as so many developmental projects took place in different parts of the state. For instance, the federal government awarded and completed the 4.6 billion naira comprehensive rehabilitation of Makurdi New Bridge, which suffered structural defect.
There was a lot of accidents, but now we realize that the road is not congested. We are enjoying the road. Compare how the road is before. So we are enjoying it. The road is very smooth and perfectly.
And in the Benue South Senatorial District, construction of Oweto Road is completed, while the Oweto Bridge linking Nasarawa State has also been completed in addition to Oju Yehe Road, which is also awarded by the federal government. Also, other roads under construction by federal government in Benue State include Lafia Makudi Dual Carriageway, Makudi Naka Adoka Road, and Makudi Alede Otubo Road. Electricity supply has significantly improved in Benue State, while the federal government has inaugurated a newly established solar hydro power plant located within the Federal University of Agriculture, Makudi.
Electricity supply recently has improved a little bit from what used to be, because at least now the number of hours we are having electricity, we are seeing light, is now more than the number of hours we were not seeing light.
There's a little improvement in the electricity supply presently compared to the past.
In the education sector, federal government had in the year 2020 established 2 tertiary institutions in Benue State, which include Federal University of Medical Sciences, Otubo, and Federal College of Education in upper local government area of the state. In Makudi, Hussein Mohammed Isa, NTA News.
And in this next report, Benue State Governor Samuel Otom has restated his resolve to sustain understanding among the 3 arms of government in the new year 2021. The governor indicated this at a New Year dinner party he organized for officials of the executive, judiciary and legislatures and other top officials at the Government House, Makudi. Charles Abba has the details.
The decorations at the Lontanese Court of Government House, Makudi, venue of the New Year dinner party organized by the Benue First family for top functionaries in the 3 arms of government, was one that befits the caliber of people for which it is meant.
Governor Samuel Otom, who noted that the outgoing year 2020 presented a number of challenges, expressed optimism that the year 2021 would be better. The governor restated the resolve of his administration to abide by the rule of law and the essence of separation of powers among the 3 organs of government.
The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary in Benue State have worked as the family of Benue State. They will not interfere in any arm of government.
Senator Okejeb, who lauded the governor for his leadership qualities and the effective manner he is tackling COVID-19 in the state, appreciated God for the discovery of vaccines for the virus.
To call on our scientists to ensure that we don't have substandard vaccines dumped on us by people who want to take advantage of the problem to make quick money for themselves.
The Deputy Governor, Benson Abono, and his wife, Justice Mary, Speaker, Benue State House of Assembly, Titus Suba and his wife, the Chief Judge and his wife, and other eminent personalities and their spouses graced the occasion. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
That's it from Makudi. Is back to you, Lydia, in Abuja. Good evening.
Many thanks, Varen. The Department of State Security Services has advised the public not to be gullible to job racketeering, as the DSS is not conducting recruitment for job seekers. A statement by its Public Relations Officer, Dr. Peter Afunanya, warned fraudsters to desist from the criminal act or face appropriate sanctions. He says DSS does not demand for money as criteria for recruitment, but conducts such exercise based on the applicant's merit. More on security reports. The Minister of Defense, Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired, says that Nigeria's Defense Space Administration to be upscaled with supply of equipment from the U.S. Space Force to enhance its capabilities to support the fight against insecurity in the country. The minister disclosed this while hosting a delegation led by the Secretary, U.S. Air Force, Barbara Barrett, at the Ministry of Defense headquarters, Ship House, Abuja. The minister notes that effective space management by the Defense Space Administration is critical to the ongoing operations by the Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies in the effort to eliminate the remnants of Boko Haram and other criminal elements. He appealed to the U.S. Secretary to speed up the release of some Super Tucano aircraft procured by the federal government. A statement by the Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abdul Qadir, says the visiting head of the U.S. military delegation, Barbara Barrett, is the 4th woman and 25th to occupy the position as Air Force Secretary. Meanwhile, the military in the year 2020 rescued over 1,000 abducted victims, including the Kankara school children in Katsina State. In this special report, Defense correspondent Ismail Musa examines some of the major highs and low moments of the armed forces in the past year.
It is a bright, busy day at the Nigerian Army Super Camp in northeast Nigeria, and these highly mobile combat-ready troops, keeping an eagle eye on the northeast, have in the year under review eliminated several terrorists, destroyed criminal cell locations, and rescued many abducted victims. With different joint military operations ongoing in different parts of the country, records from the defense headquarters show that in 2020 alone, the armed forces rescued over 1,000 kidnapped victims, including the Kankara school children. These achievements were facilitated by upskill training activities, procurement and production of arms and equipment, deployment of troops and platforms to various theater of operations. While commending the feat recorded, President Muhammadu Buhari in his New Year broadcast noted that the nation's security apparatus must strategize to combat the current crime wave.
Some of the key priority areas we will direct our attention and strength to include re-energizing and reorganizing the security apparatus and personnel of the armed forces and the police with a view to enhance their capacity to engage, push back, and dismantle the operations of both internal and external extremists and criminal groups waging war against our communities in some parts of the country.
Typical with operations, there were low moments. Troops paying supreme sacrifice, including the ambush and killing of Colonel Ahiru Bako, who was posthumously promoted to the rank of a brigadier general.
While I commend your efforts, we must redouble our efforts to completely eliminate all acts of insurgency, kidnapping, banditry, separatism, and other forms of security threats from every inch of our beloved country.
As the nation and the military march into the year,
the defense headquarters appealed to the public to see the task of securing Nigeria and Nigerians as a collective responsibility by providing constant, credible intelligence report to security agencies. This is to enhance proactive rather than reactive operations. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Thanks, Ismail. More on security. Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, is re-strategizing towards producing more arms and ammunition, among other logistics, through local content development initiative. This is to equip the Nigerian armed forces with sufficient hardware for sustained fight against insecurity. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachuku tells us more on the retreat to that effect by the corporation in Kaduna.
Based on the presidential order for the Nigerian Armed Forces to look inward in the provision and procurement of military hardwares, Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, has imbibed the initiative of local content development.
National security demands a new priority.
This strategic meeting of principal officers of the corporation is to take stock of prospects of local production of military and paramilitary hardwares and plan to reposition the industries through innovation in local content application, taking into account the role of top management personnel. Increased funding for research and development, prudent management of resources, team spirit and collaboration. Director General of the Corporation, Major General Victor Ezugu, says will continue to be the focus of the industry as it goes ahead to support the ongoing fight against insurgency, banditry and other crimes through hardwares.
This year, we are looking forward to two major activities of DICON. The first is that we are looking forward to commencing the DICON Institute of Technology by September. Secondly, there are other areas of new products. Some of them include drones and other arsenals of war that we are hoping that will support the armed forces in bringing the war against insurgency in the northeast and other parts of the country to a logical conclusion this year.
These senior officers of DICON are expected to cross-fertilize ideas in the next couple of days on how to further strengthen the industry towards achieving the desired change this year. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachkun.
More on security as we join Chinyere in Enugu for more reports. Hello, Chinyere.
Thank you, Lydia, and welcome to Enugu. The need for Nigerians to embrace community policing as a lasting solution to the security menace in the country has been re-emphasized. This is contained in a new book titled Effective Policing and Security in Southeast Nigeria, written by a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dr. Celestine Okoye. James Oparekocha reports.
It is always very refreshing and inciting when a retired person puts down in a book form his or her experience in his field of endeavor with the aim to help in the society. So it was with the presentation of the book entitled Effective Policing and Security in Southeast Nigeria. Presenting the book, the author and retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dr. Celestine Okoye, said the over 260-page book captures his years of experience with the Nigerian police force and provides solution on the country's security challenges.
This book on effective policing and security in Southeast came up as a child of necessity.
Enugu State Governor, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, while unveiling the book, said the state set up the Forest Guard with the aim to secure the state up to the farms and the forest.
We'll support you. We'll provide security for you. Because we know that Enugu is the homeland of every woman.
The Commissioner of Police Enugu State, company of other senior police officers, said DIG Okoye, being a seasoned police officer with vast experience, has all it takes to offer suggestions through the book on security matters.
The book will be a reference point in all these regions, considering the basic security ingredients pinpointed in the book.
In Enugu, James Oparekocha, NTA News.
In a bid to support the federal, state and local governments' efforts in boosting security within the country, a group in Enugu State has presented 2 patrol vehicles and other security gadgets to a vigilante group in Ibueze North local government area of the state. The group, while presenting the patrol vehicles, maintained that security is everyone's business. Chidima Madu reports.
That was the presentation of 2 patrol vehicles to Ibueze North local government chairman, who received the vehicles on behalf of the neighborhood watch. The beneficiaries were grateful for this gesture shown by their people, Enugu Izikoba sons and daughters in diaspora, and pray that God should protect and bless them for putting resources together to boost security within the council area.
They are much interesting on neighborhood watch because last time they are fearing to come back home because of kidnappers.
I take my whole heart. See God make bless them one by one.
The local government chairman and other government functionaries thanked the benefactors for meeting the security needs of the people, which will bring development to the area.
What I've done is a huge support to security of Ibueze North, and without security there will be no development.
The impact is overwhelming, and we appreciate our guys over there.
The Enugu Izikoba in diaspora previously in 2019 gave out motorcycles, which was distributed in 36 villages within the council area.
We just want to use the opportunity to support them in whatever they are doing to see that Ibueze North is great in future. I know what security is all about. We value that so much.
They advised the Ibueze North Neighborhood Watch to be more cautious and not to abuse what was given to them in Enugu. Chidima Madu, NTA News.
And that is it from Enugu. Nationwide continues in Abuja after this commercial break. Do stay.
We here at NTA cannot help but look back on a challenging year that has been filled with many lessons. The most important of all being a renewed gratitude for the continued support of our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses and manufacturers, and you, the viewers. As we cross the finish line together, this celebration of new beginnings would simply be incomplete without you there, and we look forward to sharing the coming year with you. Here's to an excellent year ahead.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
NTA News 24
A 24-hour news station brings to you news and happenings 7 days a week.
News at 10 a.m., news update at 11 and 1 p.m.
News desk at 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. and late evening news at 11 p.m.
Follow us on any of our platforms and keep abreast of events and current affairs within and outside our shores.
We are on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46,
StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. Join us.
Thanks for staying. Nationwide continues in Abuja. Now to COVID-19 update. Some 1,354 new cases of coronavirus have been recorded in 20 states and the FCT, increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 92,705. And the breakdown of these 1,354 new infections, Lagos has 712, the FCT has 145, Plateau 117, Kwara 81, Kaduna 54, Sokoto 39, Oyo 38, Rivers 37, Gombe 21, Enugu 20, Akwa Ibom 16, Bauchi and Delta 14 each, Ebonyi 13, Anambra 9, Taraba and Edo confirmed 8 each, Kano 3, Osun and Ekiti 2 each, while Ogun has 1 new case. The FCT, Lagos, Kaduna and Plateau states are still leading in number of cases per state chart as active cases increase to 14,990 across the country. Number of recovered and discharged patients also increased to 76,396, while 1,319 have unfortunately died from COVID-19 complications. A ray of hope among operating businesses in Kano as the federal government support 59,000 people with grants under the Survival Fund scheme. Our Salisu reports that this is part of the economic sustainability plan designed to support Nigerian citizens.
The outbreak of COVID-19 in Nigeria has drastically affected all sectors of the economy, leaving many people whose livelihood depend on daily income in despair and want. It was against this backdrop, federal government came up with a number of interventions to minimize the impact of the pandemic. The Survival Fund scheme, therefore, is designed to support micro, small and medium enterprises to pay the salary of their staff for a period of 3 months due to the vulnerability caused by COVID-19.
Federal government has really helped, and about 59,000, if you add the numbers, are the people that will benefit in Kano. And apart from that, the amount to be spent in Kano alone is almost 3 billion.
Hajia Maria Sanusi Bayero, one of the beneficiaries, commended the federal government for the transparent manner it is executing the scheme. She said with support such as this, economic growth and jobs are sustained as 9 of our workers are under the payroll.
It really helped and assisted us so much, because if not because of it, we have to start looking for a way to alleviate their sufferings and to help them.
Other beneficiaries described the initiative as timely.
We find it difficult during that period, but since government have intervened and we are among the beneficiaries, we are very, very happy.
I'm very happy. I'm thanks to Mr. President and the federal government.
The hope of Hajia Maria and her likes is for the federal government to extend the program, which they say its impact to economic situation of the country cannot be quantified. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
And as part of efforts to reduce the hardship faced by the poor and vulnerable occasioned by the novel coronavirus pandemic, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has directed the immediate enrollment of more than 8,000 households in Kano State. Yahana Hassan Barau reports that the beneficiaries who are to receive 5,000 naira monthly stipend were drawn from Tarauni and Nasarawa local government areas.
The outbreak of coronavirus pandemic is one of the disasters that impacted negatively on the livelihood of many in Nigeria, with the poor and vulnerable mostly affected. For instance, in Kano State, Nasarawa and Tarauni local government areas were reported to have households who suffered both socially and economically. To reach out to those affected in order to cushion the effects of the COVID-19, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, directed the Conditional Cash Transfer Unit in Kano to enroll households in the most affected local government areas of the state.
So far in the history of cash transfer in Kano, this is one of the major, tremendous, good development we received. For one local government to have 7,000 beneficiaries at a starting point. Indeed, Alheri Yazo to Kano.
30-year-old Hawa Adu is lucky to be among the households that will benefit from the benevolence. Hawa said bringing such initiative to her doorstep is a sign of transparency in governance and the commitment of the present administration to support the people at the grassroots. I will use the money to support my family, especially my children's education. For Hawa and her likes like Maimunatu, whose joy knew no bounds, their hope is for the federal government to extend the gesture to many in their area. In Kano, Yohannes Hasambaro, NTA News.
Meanwhile, 2,600 women benefit from 20,000 naira cash support in Nasarawa State by Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Joshua Kigbu reports that selected women from 5 local government areas collected the amount at a ceremony in Lafia. Minister of State, Science and Technology, Mohammed Hassan Abdullahi says the Buhari administration is committed to uplifting the lives of rural women. Beneficiaries promised to use the money judiciously. Now, stakeholders in Nigeria's entertainment industry say regulation of content remains a key strategy, both in the recovery from COVID-19 derailed programs and repositioning the industry for business in the new year in the face of COVID-19. Guests on NTS Good Morning Nigeria made the suggestion while discussing the topic, Entertainment Industry Outlook for 2021. Again, Oluseyi Adiagbo reports.
With accelerating structural challenges and trends facing the industry owing to COVID-19, Nigerian comedians Ojo Oladipo Daniel and Ogunshino Ayodeji Samuel, popularly known as Still Ringing Comedy Door, believe the pandemic came with its own lessons.
The paradigm has shifted completely. Coronavirus has made many of us content producers now.
Agreeing with the Still Ringing Door, film producer and director Happy Juliana Uchendo says the industry is adopting new strategies to keep the industry alive and striving again.
So we're looking for the best in 2021 for the entertainment industry, both the cooperative supports and what have you.
For Professor Alex Asibo, President Society of Nigeria Theatre Artists, SONTA, there is already a renewal of focus and a more targeted approach to customer engagement, stressing on regulation of content.
Regulation will not only improve quality and content, but also keep away bad content.
The Still Ringing Door ended the program doing what they know how to do best.
Father, we thank you.
In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari joins the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and Nigerian workers to celebrate pioneer president of the Congress, Hassan Adebayo Sumonu, on his 80th birthday. In a statement by Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari affirms that the former Secretary General of the Organization of African Trade Union Unity left a strong legacy in the public service and fought diligently for an improved welfare of the Nigerian worker. Institutionalizing a national minimum wage and minimum pension scheme and consistently negotiating with public and private sector employers on better packages for workers. As the identical twins turn octogenarians, the president extols their courage and discipline in always accepting to serve the nation, believing that their knowledge and experiences will continue to inspire many into public service and pressure groups which continue to work with governments in fostering development. President Buhari prays for good health and longer life for Sumonu and his brother Hussein. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has joined sport lovers, family, and friends to celebrate Christian Chukwu on his 70th birthday, describing him as a multi-talented player whose contributions led to the development of sports in Nigeria through the provision of technical leadership for national teams. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President commends efforts of the former captain of Rangers International Enugu in strengthening the local league, which has over the years been a major feeder of the national team and produced players that have featured in some of the best teams and championships in the world. The President prays for improved health, strength, and longer life for the former Super Eagles captain. We now go over to our sports desk for some sports news.
Welcome to Sports Update. I am Badi Adeleye. Let's begin by letting you know that the Nigeria Under-17 football team, the Golden Eaglets, are getting set to take on their Ivorian counterparts in their opening match at the Wafu B Under-17 Championship in Lomé, Togo. Coach Fatah Mo's boys, who concluded their magnetic resonance imaging test on Tuesday night, say they are gunning for the 3 points. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Enyimba International are currently taking on Al-Merreikh of Sudan in the second leg of their CAF Champions League first-round fixture. The People's Elephants lost the first leg 3-0 away and must overturn the deficit to progress to the second round. Still talking football, the German FA Cup, better known as the DFB Pokal, continues on NTA Lagos Network Center with second-round matches billed for the 12th and 13th of January to be beamed live. Confirming the development, Zonal Director, NTA Lagos Network Center, Lawal Ahmed, revealed that the station is positioned to play a major role in sports content delivery.
For the very first time, one out of the so many stations in NTA is chosen to play this critical role of entertaining football lovers.
And finally, the new permanent secretary of the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Nebulisa Anako, has promised to consolidate on the achievements of his predecessor, Gabriel Aduda.
That will continue where he left, along the same line, and build on it. And innovations going forward is welcome. I'm always open to ideas.
The new man in charge, who becomes the 13th permanent secretary of the ministry, declared his readiness to work tirelessly with the minister Sunday Dari in order to achieve the ministry's set goals. And that concludes Sports Update. I am Badi Adeleye.
And that concludes Nationwide. We thank you for being a part of it. And we also want to remind you to always stand with NTA against rapists and rape. Good evening.